Welcome to Dynics University. In this video, we'll introduce you to the ProViewDS application engineering environment and briefly discuss the different features built in. My name is Chris Lush, and I'll be your guide. Today we're just going to do a general overview, but check out our other videos where we'll deep dive into specific features. From the welcome screen, a project can be opened in read-only mode or opened for editing. The project will open in the engineering environment, which is your one-stop shop for developing and maintaining your application. In the upper left corner, we have main menu where you can navigate between the edit, draw, run, and info sections. At the top of your screen, you can see a breadcrumb toolbar. This lets you navigate back and forth and shows shortcuts to the past few pages you were working on. Below is another toolbar with tools to undo and redo changes, copy, cut, and paste. A print option to print a copy of a display or page. An option to import objects from a CSV file. A global search bar. This allows you to find any object that exists in the project and see what other objects reference it. This could be a tag, a display, an alarm item, database, etc. Very useful for tracking down an issue. A couple shortcut buttons for creating a new tag, and a login button. This brings up the login dialog where you can log in as an engineering user, which we'll cover more in the security section. Some settings like user passwords and database access credentials require an administrator user to be logged in to change. By default, the user is an administrator. To the left of this toolbar is the ProViewDS button, where you can find some environment settings. For example, you can change the visual theme. Now let's look at the edit section. The subsections here correspond to several of the modules built into the ProView runtime environment, such as the device and alarms modules. These subsections are tags, where you can create and modify tags to use either internal to the project or for communication with PLCs and other devices. Tag templates, which can be created or imported from a PLC configuration. These are user-defined data types, like a UDT in a PLC. Under the Historian tabs, you can set the application up to automatically log tag values to a database at runtime. You can configure how often this logging should occur and separate tags out into multiple database tables. For example, maybe one table houses data coming from an assembly line, and a second table stores only quality data. On several pages in the engineering environment, you can find information listed in this table format. In these tables, you can show and hide columns, sort and filter each column. You can right-click to copy and paste or perform other actions using keyboard shortcuts. Or you can use those keyboard shortcuts to select multiple rows, like Shift and click or Control and click. You can even copy and paste to and from Microsoft Excel. This is very helpful when adding or editing multiple objects at a time, or for copying between projects. For example, you can list out hundreds of tags in Excel and then copy and paste to quickly import into ProView. Security, for setting up user profiles with different roles and permissions. Devices, for setting up connections to PLCs and other intelligent devices. Alarms, where you can set up alarm events, define what triggers those alarms, and organize them into different groups and alarm areas, corresponding to different types of events and areas on the plant floor. Datasets, for establishing database connections such as SQL Server, Oracle, MySQL, and others. This makes it easy to connect to ERP systems, employee directories, recipe managers, and other systems, and to have ProView for data logging as well. Scripts. Here you can write your own .NET scripts and classes in either Visual Basic, .NET, or C# to tailor the application to your specific needs. You can even switch between the two languages. This allows for almost unlimited extensibility, creating your own custom functionality if not already built into ProView's toolset. Displays, where you'll find all the screen layouts and displays in the project. Also, any bitmap image resources that you have imported. Reports can be created in XPS, HTML, PDF, and plain text formats, and set up to run automated or on demand. Reports can even include symbols and other graphics found on your displays. Now let's move on to the Draw menu. Under the Draw section, you can see three main areas on the screen. The sidebar on the left-hand side, which includes point-and-click tools to change display settings and the properties of elements on that display. The top toolbar that we mentioned earlier for quickly navigating between displays, saving your changes and other tools. And the drawing workspace. This includes a vertical toolbar with all the drawing tools for adding UI elements to the display, a horizontal toolbar with additional drawing tools for manipulating controls that you've selected, and the drawing canvas itself, where you can manipulate display elements by clicking, dragging, and dropping. Again, we'll cover more of these specific tools in later videos. Moving on to Run, this module includes tools for compiling, testing, and running the project. Build is used to compile objects in the project, including scripts and displays. Error and warning status messages are shown for each module and object to help guide you to the items needed attention. The History tab lists a history of builds and even allows you to roll back to a previous build. The References tab lists any third-party DLLs being used. This might include .NET libraries, APIs, or custom drivers communicating with a special type of device, working with other software like Microsoft Office, Google Calendar, or even weather information providers. Bringing in third-party libraries is another way ProView is very extensible. The Test submenu allows you to run the project in test mode to test changes without affecting your production environment. In test mode, Historian and Alarm data logging will use local test databases rather than your production databases. Each module can be set on or off, so only the functionality you want to test will run on startup. The built-in diagnostic tools can be used to help resolve any issues with the project, tracking error messages, or watching tag values in real time. With the online configuration option, I can make some changes to the project while it's running, and when I save, the project will update real time. Under Startup, here you can configure how your project will run in production and start it up manually. Startup mode will also enable Historian and Alarm data logging features to use your databases as defined in the project instead of the test databases used in test mode. Publishing a project creates a read-only protected version of the project suitable for deployment. Here you can specify a revision number, which is helpful for version control over time. Under Use Count, here you can see the number of times a specific object is being used in the project. It even provides a cross-reference where each object is used, and double-clicking on the row will take you to that location. This makes it easy to track down where a certain tag is being set, or where a certain display is being opened, for example. This tool is also very useful for removing unused tags and other objects when you're doing code cleanup. Under Dictionaries, you can set up language localization and also define enumeration sets to map tag values to what should be displayed on screen. For extensions, this includes tools to import and export project components. You can wrap multiple objects like tags, symbols, displays, and more into a single file that can be imported into another project. Here you can also find shortcuts for creating or importing .NET classes, data tables, OPC server connections, and more. Lastly, we'll look at the Info menu. This section provides access to the project configuration options, change tracking tools, and license information. The Project submenu shows the project version, the settings, and other metadata. You can change project settings under the Settings tab, and under the server configuration you can find the command lines used to run the application and deploy runtime clients. Tracking lists changes made in the project after each build or published version. You can see which user made changes and on which computer to help resolve versioning issues and establish accountability for development. Under Notes, you can jot down notes visible to other developers if you have multiple people collaborating on a project. License shows your license details, whether it's a soft key or a USB hard key. Throughout the engineering environment, you can use keyboard shortcuts or hotkeys. These should be familiar with other applications like Microsoft Office, for actions like undo, redo, copy, cut, or paste. In this video, we've reviewed the ProViewDS engineering environment and all of its menus and submenus. In our next video, we're going to learn about the licensing process for our software. Click subscribe if you haven't to stay up to date with all of our latest and greatest videos and any development techniques you may be unfamiliar with. For advanced training, head to our website, www.dynics.com/training, to register for classes. We'll see you next time.